What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Tuesday, October 7th. My name is Everett Delorme, and today we're going to talk about some volleyball. More specifically, we are going to basically finish wrapping up the 2025 Men's Volleyball World Championships by announcing the official Volleyball Source Discord awards. We're going to go over the All-Stars, the first team, and the second team. I'm also going to go over who I thought deserved to be an All-Star because I actually did vote for these ones this time around. And then we're going to go over some of the awards as well. Hope you're all doing really well. It's a little rainy here in Toronto, but we're fired up because my Toronto Blue Jays are getting ready to sweep the big pussycats that are the New York Yankees tonight in Game 3 of the ALDS. Now, I'm not actually a huge baseball fan, but I do jump on the bandwagon when it comes time for playoffs. But that's enough baseball talk. As you know, the All-Star Awards are always highly contested around FIVB events. And, I mean, they have to be. They are limited to the top 4 teams in the semifinals, and then also limited to, how many players per team are given it. So in general, there's going to be 3 or I think it's, three players, 3 or 4 players from the winning team, 2 from the second place team, and then 1 or 2 from the third place team, depending on how it all breaks down. So as always, we put out the poll in the Discord. Big shout out to Anna this time around, who put out the poll and made everything happen. And yeah, we're going to go over what the Discord voted. So first and foremost, we're going to start obviously with the first team, and you're going to notice there is a lot of Italy on this first team. As to be expected. I mean, they did win the tournament. They pretty much dominated all the way through. So in the setter position, you got Simone Giannelli. In the opposite position, you have Yuri Romano. On the outside, you had Alex Nikolov and Mattia Botolo. Down the middle, the one pole, Jakub Kukanovsky, and then Alex Grozanov from Bulgaria down the middle, Fabio Balasso from Italy as libero, and then the all-time legend of World Championships, Ferdinando Di Giorgi, as the coach. And, while this isn't quite what I had picked, and we'll go over my picks a little bit later, I actually don't disagree with too much of this. I mean, Giannelli was absolutely fantastic. He was no doubt, to me, the best setter in the tournament. Romano was unreal, especially in the playoffs. And I mean, even go back to the preview. That's what I said was going to happen. Playoff Romano is a real thing. He was huge for them in 2021 at the European Championships when they won. He was huge for them in 2022 when they won their first of the back-to-back World Championships. So those ones, no contest whatsoever. Moving down to Alex Nikolov, that is an absolute no-brainer. I mean, he was the best player in the tournament. No doubt about it. Put Bulgaria on his back, dragged them to the finals. No one expected them to be able to win a silver medal, and that's exactly what they did. The other guy, Mattia Botolo, a guy who maybe didn't have the best semifinal, but was solid all throughout the tournament for Italy, was huge for them in the final, especially in that final set, ripping off, what was it? I think he had 6 or 7 aces in that final match. Was absolutely unreal. Really following up a really strong year for Lube and having his best summer ever for the Italian national team. Down the middle, Jakub Kukanovsky was definitely one of the most steady of the Polish players all throughout the tournaments. Alex Grozanov was another huge piece for Bulgaria, one of the top blockers in the tournament as well. And then Fabio Balasso, of course, one of the best liberos in the world. He really quarterbacks that back end for Italy, the way he controls that back line, the way he keeps their shape and is constantly communicating. He's always there when he's needed. And then Ferdinando Di Giorgi, what can you say about Fefe? 3 World Championships as a player, now 2 as a coach, 5 all-time. He's just the best ever. He is just the best ever when it comes to Italian volleyball and the World Championships and just world volleyball in general. Just looking at these first teams, Alex Nikolov led everything, scoring and attacking. He led the tournament with 173 points and 154 kills. averaging 6.41 points per set and 5.7 kills per set, which is absolutely huge. He was averaging more kills per set than anyone else was averaging points. That's just how good he was all throughout this tournament. Just absolutely unreal. Grozanov led the tournament in blocks. He had 18 blocks, averaging 0.67 blocks per set, which is pretty high, very, very high. And Kokonovsky was not too bad as well. He had 12 blocks, averaging 0.5 blocks per set. And of course, Balasso isn't, I don't think he's in any of the top receivers, but, you know, when you're looking at statistically the top receivers and the top defenders, it wasn't necessarily, the guys who had made it to the end of the tournament. And I think for me, the eye test is also why I put Balasso in that number one spot. And then DeGiorgi, we don't really need to talk about him. He's already, we just discussed why he's the best of all time. You know, Italy suffered that loss to Belgium, and then after that, they only lost the one set to Bulgaria in the final. They turned on the heaters, and DeGiorgi, you could tell he, maybe matured. I know that's interesting to say to a man who's been around volleyball for so long as he has, but, we saw Italy struggle back at the 2024 Olympics when they weren't able to go to the bench, and we saw a lot of going to the bench, right? We saw a lot of using the entirety of their roster, and I think that's one of the reasons why Italy was able to succeed at this World Championships. Moving on now to the Discord second team, a lot more familiar faces. We have Moni Nikolov, of course, the other big factor in Bulgaria's run, the 18-year-old who leads his country to a silver medal in the same year that he was the NCAA Player of the Year and led Long Beach to an NCAA championship. What a year for Moni. Absolutely deserved. In the opposite position, Patrick Indra, who was unreal for Czechia all tournament long. Of course, also had a great season in playing in Poland. He wasn't as great in the semifinals, in the finals, as teams were really focusing on neutralizing him, but still, Indra was one of the top scorers in the tournament when at the end of the day, he was third in scoring overall with 106 points, averaging 0.442 points per set. People also could have voted Ferry Regers, which would have been another big another obvious one. He was actually second in tournament scoring for Belgium, even though he played 2 less matches than Indra. He had 106 points and averaging 6.24 points per set and 93 kills while averaging 5.47 points per set. So Regers also wouldn't have been an acceptable answer, but people were a lot more in the "what have you done for me lately" mindset and voted for Indra. On the outside, the Discord voted for Leon and Micheletto. Leon, I thought, was unreal. He was hands down the best Polish player all throughout the tournament long. He had 93 points while averaging 4.23 points per set. And Micheletto, Leon was 6th in scoring. Micheletto was 7th with 93 points, averaging 3.88 points per set. Down the middle, you have Roberto Russo, who was the second best blocker in the tournament with 16. He would actually average more blocks per set than Grozanov, mostly because Italy played a lot less sets than Bulgaria. Bulgaria went to 5 quite a bit throughout their tournament, whereas Italy just went to 5 that one time, and other than the 3-1 against Bulgaria, swept everything else. So Russo had 16 blocks, averaging 0.676 blocks per set, which actually wasn't the lead in the tournament. Jan Kozamernik had a better average. He averaged 0.94 blocks per set, which is unreal from the Slovenian, while Flavio from Brazil had 0.9 blocks per set. And remember, Flavio only played those 3 matches. He had 9 blocks throughout the tournament, so that is really, really high. And then Antonin Klimesh, the young 19-year-old from Czechia, he was 12th in blocks with 0.42 blocks per set, and with 10 blocks. And another opinion, you're right. I did make a mistake there on making Russo Bulgarian, but Russo is most definitely Italian. A lot of similar colors going on in those two flags out there. I thought Klimesh was outstanding. We'll talk about him a little bit later. And then Damian Kolev the libero for Bulgaria, really just took on a lot of volume in serve receive, especially early on in the tournament when Bulgaria was doing such a good job of hiding Alex Nikolov. And it was really good to see. And then I also messed up on the flag. And even though Gian Lorenzo Langini is Italian, he was the coach for Italy. So I just mixed up those two flags on there. So I apologize on that. That is the Discord first team and second team. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Doesn't really matter. It's all over, and it's all for fun. But just for fun as well, I decided to go out and give you guys my my awards and who I would have given it to. I also voted as well, so this was in all the decisions. I had Gianelli, Romano, Nikolov, Leon, Russo, Grozanov, Balasso, and Blengini. I picked Blengini over De Giorgi, and De Giorgi obviously is the all-time great. However, Blengini, with what he was able to do with Bulgaria from VNL until now, bringing the youngest team in the tournament all the way to the finals, I thought was massive. And there was such a difference in the way this team played from the VNL to now. And it was really impressive. Leon as well, I thought, he really carried Poland. And even in that last match, or that match against Italy, I don't think you can really fault Leon for not being out there. It's kind of like we've seen in the past from Poland when this team struggles, Leon seems to still be good, and we always seem to get some good matches out of him. So Leon was on my first team. Russo and Grozanov, the two best blockers in the tournament. Not much to say there about that. There is a little bit of change for me on the second team. I've got Moni and Indra as well, Kokanovsky and Klimesh Botolo on the outside. The two big changes are Lucas Vashina, and I thought Vashina was outstanding. I thought Vashina was Czechia's best player. And I mean, I even thought about putting him in the first team. I won't lie about that. I thought he was outstanding, really carried Czechia, especially in those later matches. Now he was fourth in scoring with 98 points, averaging 4.45 points per set, and really took on a huge load for them in serve receive as well. And Vashina, was very, very reliable for Resovia this past year in the Plus Liga, but we really saw him really blossom into being a star. And I was actually surprised that I didn't see him on either of the teams, because I thought Lukas Vashina, once again, was the best Czech player all throughout this tournament. And then Milan Monik of Czechia. He's another guy that really stepped up for this Czech team all throughout the tournament and was just really, really solid. It could have gone either way between Kolev and Monik, but if I bring up the dig stats now, the dig stats are a big question, a big question mark. Monik was third in digs with 42, while averaging 6 digs per match. Kolev was sixth overall in digs, although there's a lot of ties there, with 31 digs, averaging 4.43 digs per match. So honestly, in those guys, it could have gone either way. You're forgiven either way. I would have liked to see maybe some guys like Riegers make make these teams, but you can't always get what you want with these type of votes. Once again, big shout out to everyone who voted. These ones are my teams. If you want to just join, you'll have to go back and watch the Discord teams over that. Now, for the rest of the awards, first and foremost, MVP. And now the MVP always, of the FIVB, always has to go to the winning team. It was given to Micheletto, which I did somewhat disagree with. I don't think he had a terrible tournament, and on paper, he led Italy in scoring. I just didn't think he was great throughout the semifinals and the finals. I thought if you're going to give it to anyone on Italy, it should have been Gianelli, who really set a great offense, or even Romano. who was outstanding in the two most important matches for Italy. But there's no question, and I mean, I've already talked about the stats about how important Alex Nikolov and how impressive Alex Nikolov was throughout the course of this tournament. I mean, even like he dominated every single match for Bulgaria, had so much focus on him, and he still found ways to score time and time again. But the most impressive match for me had to be that quarterfinal match where he scored 11 points in sets 1 through 3, was abysmal, had 7 errors in that match, and then turned it around with 18 points in sets 4 and 5. So in a set and a half, he scored 18 points and really put Bulgaria on the back to lead them to greatness. There's that one great moment where he goes and grabs his brother. He says, "Give me every ball and I will win us this match." And that's exactly what he did. There's no doubt to anyone that Alex Nikolov should have been the MVP if we voted it in a good way. I think we can, maybe I wish there was a different variety of awards maybe at these events, but who knows? Once again, Alex Nikolov, no doubt about it, the MVP from this tournament. Breakout player, Moni Nikolov. People also voted Botolo as a breakout player, but I had a hard time with that one, considering Botolo is already known as a star, has already been on this team for quite a while. Sure, he wasn't a starter, but he is a starter in the Superlega, right? Was one of the best players for Lube this year, as they had an outstanding season, winning the Super Cup, the Italian Cup, and then going all the way to the Scudetto finals. But Moni, I know we've been talking about him all year long, but still, 18 years old, doing what he did, leading a team to the finals. And I mean, in so many ways, you can say that he's revolutionizing the setter position. I kind of push back on that just because there's no one who can physically play like him, right? There's no one who's 6'10" with a live shoulder who can be an option in attack and yet still set with the quality that he does. And, I know there's that one out of system clip going on, or a Namir, tells DeFalco's like, "Oh, I used to do that all the time." And I did have the ability and the pleasure of getting to watch Namir set back in 2013 for the Netherlands. And I can guarantee you he was not dishing the butter the way that Moni does. He was not running the offense the way that Moni does. Moni has improved so much throughout the summer, just watching him for the first time in Quebec City to where he was now, the way he made his decisions, the way he handled his offense, right? There's no doubt about it that this team doesn't get here if Moni wasn't their setter. And being such a leader at this young age is absolutely massive. And then the other breakout player, Antonin Klimesh, 19 years old, playing one of the toughest positions in volleyball. And unlike Moni, he doesn't come from, a high pedigree volleyball family. He's just going to be going to play for Karlovarsko, which is one of the best clubs in the Czech league. And I thought he was massive. Didn't make any unforced errors all throughout the tournament, which was huge. And for only 19 years old, the way that they went to him in big moments, I thought was really indicative of how mature this young man was. And, he was voted in kind of second spot as an honorable mention, so we had to mention him for sure. Moving on to the next award, it's the Davide Mazzanti Award for Excellence in Stoogery, and I don't necessarily know if I agree with this one. The Discord voted for Nikola Grbic, and that is, of course, off of the back of Poland only getting second. I think it was difficult for Grbic, you had one of your best players and leaders go down right before the match in Bartosz Kurek, but then there's only so much that you can do in terms of getting your players going and playing the system. But then again, it did seem like there was a little bit of lack of system, especially in the blocking coverage and especially in the support, in the way that they played defense. So maybe it's warranted, maybe it's not, but the honorable mention in this one also has to be Norbert Huber for his comments about the Philippines throughout this tournament. And I mean, Grbic even came out and said that that was a bad look and that he shouldn't have done that. And I'm actually going to break this down a little bit tomorrow, just because I think it deserves to be talked about. And while I do agree with some of the things he said, and I think that he has a right to say them, the other stuff wasn't there. And yeah, if you're going to say that kind of stuff, you best be playing some of your best ball. And you can't really say that he was. He was kind of non-existent for Poland, especially in the later matches, especially against Italy. So I voted for Huber, and a lot of you did as well. Next up, we had the best match of the tournament, no doubt about it, the reverse sweep of Bulgaria over the U.S. The U.S. looked really good for 2 sets. I mean, they really shut down Alex early on, and they were really cooking. They were really cooking. It looked like they were going to be making a big run, and then it just turned into the Alex Nikolov show. Well, for a set, you know, in that 3rd set, Bulgaria really rallied around, and it was a team effort led by Ilya Petkov down the middle, who was big for them, going for 3 for 3 and attacking, also scoring a few aces. And it really just galvanized the team to inspire Alex, let's say, for one of the best performances of all time. And this was just an all-time classic. It was so much fun to watch. If you ever want to watch it back, I suggest you go to VBTV, and then you can just pause the announcers and go over to our my watch along that I did for that match, and just sync it up. It's a fun way to watch the match, and I know some of you have been doing it, and I thank you for it, because you send me little messages on Instagram about it, even when you're watching it back, which I think is really awesome, and I appreciate that. So yeah, don't think on the votes, every single vote that came in voted this match as the best match of the tournament. I mean, there was so many upsets and so many things that happened in the first half of the tournament that the second half of the tournament, there really wasn't that much drama, right? I think the other one that you could have voted, maybe it was Serbia, Iran in the round of 16. That one is another spicy one, is 2 big teams just going toe to toe. But I don't think anyone disagreed that Bulgaria versus USA was the best match of the tournament, hands down. And, you know, there was so much about it going in, with Alex and Moni both being the players of the year, both being one-and-dones in the NCAA. And it was a bit of a missed opportunity for the Americans to be able to, you know, because the storyline would have then gone to the USA, and think of how many American fans would be able to watch Team USA at the World Championships. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. And unfortunately for Bulgarian fans, it did happen for you guys. Next up, we had the most memorable moment, and you all voted the Mattia Bottolo and Yuri Romano ace runs in the final. It was just pure domination in both of these cases. I mean, Romano had, 5 in a row in that second set, and it was just the full power of Italy on full display, and from guys who wouldn't necessarily expect it from, right? Everyone expected Micheletto to be the guy. Everyone expects Gianelli to be the guy, you know, going back to that 24-21 big comeback that they had against Japan in the quarterfinals of the Olympics last year. But Romano, as I mentioned before, was huge for Italy in the past, winning 2 of the other big trophies. And for Bottolo, I think it was really special. You know, once again, if Daniele Lavia was on this team, he probably wouldn't have been the starter. So for him to come out and put out a performance like that, get Italy back on the right track after they had lost the 3rd set, and really put the nail in the coffin to clinch that win for them, I was really happy for Mattia Bottolo, and it was just an awesome moment for everyone involved, other than the Bulgarian fans, of course. Next up, we have the biggest surprise, and no surprise here, Bulgaria making it all the way to the final. And I remember early on people saying that Bulgaria was going to make it to the final, and I was kind of like, slow your roll. I mean, they had a good pool play. Sure, they beat Germany. Sure, they beat Slovenia. But none of those 2 really impressed me. And, you know, you can go out there and say, oh, well, they had the easiest path. You didn't have to play Brazil. They had to play a American B team, if you will. But, you know, you had a team like Brazil, you had a team like France, teams like USA who weren't able to get there, right? You had these big name teams with big name players who weren't able to make it there. And I mean, sure, you didn't have necessarily the firepower on the American, but you're still led by Eric Shoji and Micah Christensen, 2 of the best in the world in their position. So for the fact that Bulgaria was able to go out there, take care of business the way that they should have and the way that they needed to, I thought was really special. And no surprise, Bulgaria was voted as the biggest surprise for this tournament. And then finally, the biggest disappointment going to Poland, and the way that Poland was three-donged by Italy in the semis. Poland has arguably the best team in the world, right? They hands down have the deepest team in the world. You can make the argument that they have the best players in the world in that man right there, Wilfredo Leon, one of the best coaches in the world, one of the best leagues in the world, one of the best development systems, right? It is a country that cares about volleyball maybe the most in the world, as we've talked about at other times here. But the way that they came out against the Italians was just so lackadaisical, right? And they came out strong, and the immediate, like, as soon as Italy started pushing back, they just didn't know what to do. And especially for the two men in this picture, Wilfredo Leon, and in the background, Nikola Grbic, those are two men who are legends in the sport of volleyball and yet still haven't won a world championship, right? Grbic is 0 for 7 now, which is crazy to think of as a player and as a coach. And Leon, this is only his second world championship. He got silver in 2010 with Cuba, now bronze in 2025 with Poland. He's just missing that gold medal. Of course, missing an Olympic gold medal right now, but you can only win that every 4 years. So the biggest disappointment has to go to Poland. I mean, I already talked about that in my wrap-up show at the end of the tournament last week. So no surprise there that the Discord went and voted Poland as the biggest disappointments of the tournament. And that will pretty much wrap up our coverage of the 2025 Men's Volleyball World Championships. I will do a breakdown of the Huber versus the Philippines situation, because I do think it needs to be talked about for a number of reasons. And I'll be doing that tomorrow. But yeah, as I said before, I really appreciate everyone who tuned in, watched, and participated, whether it's on the Discord or here on the YouTube throughout the World Championships. It was a lot of fun for me, and I'm excited for what's to come next. All right. I think that is all we have to talk about today. And I appreciate you all. If you joined us, if you're a new viewer to Volleyball Source now, just new because of the World Championships, maybe because of VNL earlier this summer, just have you know that we do this for the pro season, all season long. Pro volleyball has already started with the Women's Italian League getting kicked off on Monday, and then a number of the leagues getting started on October 20th as well. So we'll be here all season long for everything from the Italian League, the Polish League, some of the American leagues as well, touch on the Japanese League, maybe visit, Germany and France and Czechia, and then of course the Champions League. So make sure you stay tuned right here to Volleyball Source. I appreciate you all. I love you all, and have a great day. Bye.